My son brought his girlfriend home, but after just one dinner, I wanted them to break up. Just one dinner meeting, and I started thinking my son might be in love with the wrong person. This year, I turned 55. I have two children. My eldest son is 27. His name is Kiem. My youngest is a daughter, 23 years old, who has just started working. Our family isn't wealthy, but we live with strong values. Since my children were young, I always taught them that wherever they go, they should know how to behave respectfully and speak with consideration. So when my son said, "Mom, this weekend I want to bring my girlfriend home," I was honestly very nervous. It was the first time he had ever brought a girlfriend home to meet us. I woke up very early that morning. I went to the market, prepared the food, and cleaned the house. The whole time I kept wondering, what kind of girl is she? Around a.m., my son brought his girlfriend home. Her name was Hein, born in 2000. My first impression of her was quite good. Hein was pretty, slim, and tall. The corners of her mouth always looked like she was smiling, and her eyes were bright. She greeted us politely. "Hello, uncle." "Hello, Andy." She spoke gently and answered every question calmly. To be honest, at that moment I felt quite satisfied. I even thought to myself, my son does have good taste. After a while, when it was almost time to start cooking, I said, "You two can sit here and chat with uncle. I'll go downstairs to prepare the food." I didn't mean to test her. I simply thought that since it was her first time visiting her boyfriend's house, she might feel shy. Hein smiled very comfortably and said, "Yes, of course." Then she continued chatting with my husband. I went downstairs to cook. About 40 minutes later, when most of the dishes were nearly finished, I went back up to the living room. But at that moment, only my husband was sitting there watching TV. Surprised, I asked, "Where are the two of them?" My husband answered casually, "Kiem took his girlfriend for a walk around the neighborhood." I paused for a moment. To be honest, I don't place too much importance on whether a future daughter-in-law helps in the kitchen. Times have changed, but I was still a little surprised. Because most girls, the first time they visit their boyfriend's house, would at least come down to the kitchen and ask a question, or help wash vegetables, or ask if they could help with anything. But Hein didn't. She didn't come to the kitchen. She didn't ask. Instead, she asked my son to take her out for a walk. I didn't say anything, but in my heart, a small doubt started to form. The meal was ready. The three of us sat in the living room watching TV, waiting for them to come back. We waited almost 30 minutes. Finally, the door opened. The two of them walked in laughing and chatting. Hein stepped into the dining room, looked at the table full of food, and exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, Annie cooked so many dishes. Everything looks so delicious." She pulled out a chair and sat down very naturally. Nothing was exactly wrong, but it still felt a little strange to me. Maybe I was just overthinking. That's what I told myself. But I didn't know that what happened during the meal afterward would truly shock me. Because only about 20 minutes after we sat down at the table, the girl I once thought was polite and gentle said something that left me not knowing whether to laugh or to worry. The family dinner suddenly turned into a drinking party, and what she said left me speechless. I never expected that at her very first dinner meeting my family, my future daughter-in-law would start treating everyone like drinking buddies. The dinner actually started quite normally. Hein sat next to my son, chatting happily with everyone. The atmosphere in the house slowly became more relaxed. I began to think that maybe I had been overthinking things, until my husband stood up and went to get a bottle of liquor. He's the kind of man who likes a small drink with dinner, not much, just 1 or 2 glasses for fun. He poured 4 small shots. My son can drink, so he raised his glass naturally. My daughter and I, however, don't drink alcohol. I only took a small sip and placed the glass back on the table. My daughter did the same, but at that moment, Hein lifted her glass, smiling brightly. "Auntie, you should drink." I smiled politely. "I can't drink much," she immediately replied. "That's okay, Annie. If you raise a glass, you should finish it." Then she turned to Kiem's younger sister. "You should drink too. It's no fun if you raise a glass but don't drink." The whole table paused for a moment. She said it very casually, almost like she was drinking with friends. I glanced at my husband. He just smiled. My son smiled too. He even said, "Mom, just drink a little. It'll be fun." I felt a bit uncomfortable, not wanting to ruin the atmosphere. I took another small sip, but Hein kept raising her glass. She drank quite freely. I watched the way she drank. There was no shyness, no hesitation. It looked like she had been used to drinking parties for a long time. Finally, I asked, "Can you drink a lot?" Hein laughed naturally. My dad trained me to be his drinking buddy since I was little. The table fell silent for a second. Then she continued, sounding proud. "When I drink, even Kiem can't beat me." My son burst out laughing. Hein added another sentence. "Actually, we met through drinking." I held my chopsticks but didn't pick up any food. Something inside me started to feel strange. I tried to joke. "When you two get married, you might end up bringing your child to the drinking table." I was only joking. But Hein replied immediately, playfully, "You sound exactly like my mom. She always talks about kids. We're still young. We're not thinking about that at all." At that exact moment, something flashed through my mind. It wasn't that what she said was terribly wrong, but it made me feel slightly disappointed. Because I only have one son, I'm not a conservative person. At work, many people even say I look younger than my 55 years. I've always tried to understand the younger generation, but somehow, the way Hein spoke felt a little too rough and carefree. And as the dinner went on, I realized something more clearly. Maybe this girl was not the kind of daughter-in-law I had imagined, but the thing that truly made me decide I had to talk to my son privately happened right before the dinner ended. One sentence after dinner made me tell my son to take his girlfriend home. Just one sentence after dinner made my entire family look at each other and fall silent. Dinner ended quite late. Hein had a few more drinks with my husband and my son. The atmosphere was lively. If you looked at it from the outside, anyone would probably think the first meeting went very well. But inside, I had already started to feel uneasy. After dinner, everyone got up to clean up. My son said, "Let me handle the dishes." Hein didn't go to the kitchen. She stayed sitting in the living room. A moment later, I heard her say to my son, "After eating, all I want to do is sleep." She said it quietly, but I still heard it clearly. It wasn't that I was eavesdropping. The kitchen and living room are just very close. I suddenly paused. For some reason, that sentence bothered me a little, not because she was tired, but because of how comfortably she said it, as if she was already in her own home. I looked at my daughter. She looked back at me. Neither of us said anything. A moment later I called my son. "Kiem, if it's getting late, take your girlfriend home first." He looked surprised. "Go now, Mom?" I nodded. "Yes, take her home. Then come back here for a bit. Your father and I want to talk to you." The atmosphere in the living room suddenly became tense. My son looked at me, then at his father. My husband remained silent. Finally, Kiem said, "Okay." The two of them stood up and left. When the door closed, my daughter was the first to speak. "Mom, you thought that was strange too, right?" I sighed. My husband said, "That girl is a bit rough." That was the word he used. Rough. Not a bad person, but not someone who fits our family. About 40 minutes later, my son came back. He walked into the house with a slightly annoyed look on his face, and the conversation that followed turned into the biggest argument between my son and me in many years. My son got angry defending his girlfriend and said something that left me stunned. When I said that girl wasn't right for our family, my son immediately stood up to defend her. As soon as Kiem walked into the house, he asked right away, "What did you want to talk to me about?" I didn't go around in circles. I said it directly. "We think Hein isn't suitable for our family." He looked at me, then asked, "Not suitable how?" I replied gently, "The way she talks is a bit too casual." My husband added, "It's her first time visiting her boyfriend's house, yet she drank alcohol and talked like that." It wasn't very tactful. My son stayed silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "You're being too judgmental." I was a little surprised. He continued, "Hein is a good person. She's just straightforward. You're just not used to it yet. That's why it feels strange." I said, "It's not that Mom is old-fashioned, but I feel like she doesn't really know how to read the room." My son sighed. Then he said something that truly shocked me. "Girls these days are all so calculating. They're all fake. Finding someone simple and without schemes like Hein is actually very rare." I looked at my son. I didn't expect him to defend his girlfriend that strongly. He added, "You should be more open-minded. Don't judge someone based on just one dinner." The conversation ended in a tense atmosphere. After my son went upstairs, my husband and I sat there in silence for a long time. Finally, I said, What if he won't listen to us? My husband asked, what are you planning to do? I hesitated for a moment. Then I said, what if I meet Hein privately? My husband looked at me. I continued, I'll ask her to stop seeing Kiem, because at that moment, I truly believed that girl was not suitable to become my daughter-in-law. But I didn't know that, if I really did that, things might become much worse. I'm thinking about meeting my son's girlfriend and asking her to leave him. Am I going too far? I only have one son, so I don't want him to marry the wrong person. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the dinner. Maybe I'm being too strict, but maybe I'm just worried about my son. These days, a lot of things can happen. I've seen many cases before. Two people love each other deeply, but when they start living together, they realize they are completely incompatible. Marriage is not the same as dating. It's not just about having fun together. It's also about family, responsibility, and the way people live their lives. I don't know what Hyan is like outside, but in just one afternoon, I noticed a few things that made me uneasy. Maybe my son is in love, so he can't see them. But me, I'm the one standing outside, and I might see things more clearly. I told my husband, if he won't listen to us, I'll meet Hyan. My husband asked, what are you going to say? I replied, I'll just tell the truth, that our family isn't compatible, and ask her not to continue seeing Kim. My husband stayed silent for a long time. Then he said, if you do that, Kim might hate you. I know, I've thought about that too, but I also know something else. If my son ends up marrying someone who doesn't fit with the family, the one who might suffer the most could be him. I don't know if my decision is right or wrong. Maybe I'm worrying too much. Maybe I'm judging a girl based on just one dinner. But if you were me, would you meet that girl privately and ask her to stay away from your son?